Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Homestand TV on the Parlay Network. I'm your host, Celine Chamarky, alongside my co-host, Justin Pooney. First off, Justin, how was your weekend?
It was all right.
All right.
Canucks won on Saturday. It was a pretty bad game to watch, but they won. Mitch Marner extended his historic point scoring his point streak. The Leafs lost, which was nice in overtime. We will.
Thank you. Thanks for that jab.
It was a good weekend. I had to throw my jab in there.
I had to throw. Well, I'm gonna throw my jab at you.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay.
Let's chat about Brock Boeser.
Let's chat about Brock Boeser.
Elliot Friedman dropped news that Brock Boeser's agent has been given permission to get a trade out of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, what do you think is going to happen with this? Do you think the agent's going to follow through with this and they're going to try to see where Brock Boeser fits, or do you think he'll maybe stick it out for the rest of the season? What's going on?
So, I was reading the reports last night. He hasn't requested a trade, but there's definitely, anybody Canucks Nation will know, Brock Boeser is kind of like that, kind of like William Nylander in a sense, on a lesser scale, where not people that want him traded, but he's always in trade talks, right? He's always, should we trade him? Should we, easy fit here long term? And I always
good value for him too, right?
Yeah, he's not scoring though. So when Brock Boeser first came into the league, we thought he had that amazing rookie year. We're like, oh my God, he's going to be the next 30, 40 goal scorer. He is that guy. But as things have kind of progressed, you see injuries have really dampened his career. He's never really gotten a flow exactly this case in point this year as well. And he was going to be a healthy scratch on Saturday, right? And it was weird because he was a healthy. Now it's kind of Saturday morning, he's going to be a healthy scratch. And then all of a sudden before the game, bang, that bombshell drops that by Elliot Friedman that, his agent is given permission to seek out other teams for a trade, which means he probably wants out. Now, if I'm the Canucks, I would try to move him as well because he's on a pretty reasonable cap. I think it's 6.65 for another 3 years.
6.65.
And, he's still relatively young. And you have a guy like Andrei Kuzmenko who just came in from the KHL last year, who's at a point-per-game pace. You still got to sign Bo Horvat, which, where things are going now, it looks like Bo Horvat's on his way out of town. So you're going to need to do something. And I think with Brock Boeser, it might just be the case in point where it's time to just move on and cut the bait and get a fresh start. As for what the Canucks could get for Brock Boeser, I look at what Seattle get for Oliver Bjorkstrand out of Columbus. I think they got a third and a fourth round pick. If the Canucks can recoup some picks or maybe even a defenseman, right, which they desperately need, that would be a win. But I just think that I love Brock Boeser. He's a great guy. You saw he scored on Saturday. He got a little bit emotional because, of course, of what happened with his father, dealing with cancer. His father just passed away. All the emotions were there was such heightened emotions on Saturday for him. And you saw him get a little bit emotional on the bench. I know everybody in the locker room does love him, but I think it's the case in point with Brock Boeser that it might just be time for a change. And to nobody's fault, it might be, time to move on from Brock Boeser.
I mean, when time is ready to come, ready to happen, right? But the scratch for that game, it was Hockey Fights Cancer Night. So what are your thoughts on that exactly?
Yeah.
Because it didn't look right at all. And prior to the show, we were just talking about how maybe the coach didn't know that it was Hockey Fights Cancer Night. But it's so promoted that I feel like you can't not know, especially if he just lost his dad in May of this year.
I think with Bruce Boudreau being that type of coach, I don't think it crosses his mind. Because he said when they announced he's right, it's tough love, right? He loves Brock Boeser. He knows he's going to be a big part of this team going forward, but it's tough love, right? I don't think, look, if I saw that press conference from Brock Boeser last year, at the end of last season, where he really opened up his emotions about what it was like to go through the difficulties with his dad, eventually passing, and he broke down. That right there it showed you that these guys are athletes, but they're also real people as well. And I think, I don't know if Bruce Boudreau knew that, but again, Dakota Joshua was out, and Brock Boeser had to go in, and he played well, right? And I'm assuming he will play tonight against Montreal going forward. So, it was optically bad, but I think people are trying to dive too deep into it. It's not that deep.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Brock Boeser, he spent 6 seasons with the Vancouver Canucks. He's making 6.5 of an annual value per year. He's a dynamic offensive player, and he averages 50 points per season. So it's going to be interesting to see where he does end up at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's a couple months from now, even next season, whatever it happens, it probably will most likely
He's not going to be in the long-term plans.
No.
I don't think so.
Well, let's talk about another player over here, Mr. Jordan Binnington, Mr.
Yes.
Whiny Baby. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel about Jordan Binnington, Celine.
Honestly, I just, this guy, I'm sorry. When they went on that run, when St. Louis was the bottom team, and then they came back and won the Stanley Cup, I was all for Binnington. I was like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. And he's a good goalie, but this year, he's like a kid.
It's not even this year though. It's in his
whole career.
His whole career, yeah.
But like this year's more highlighted, and like he's doing it like all the time. Like he's just annoying.
He's a goalie. He's weird. Goalies are weird.
Jack Campbell with the
Jack Campbell's an interesting guy too.
Inside joke over here. Okay, anyways, so even his coach is getting mad. He's saying it's time to stop. It doesn't help anything. Just play goal. Just that's all you
Stop
need to
the
do.
puck.
Tend the goal. Yeah. Just tend the goal. So we're talking about this because on the game on this weekend, he's clipped Jason Zucker. And it's pretty dangerous. Like
he threw his glove out like that.
And then even with Jordan Stahl, like the same.
He tried to body check Jordan Stahl the game before.
Okay, like what's going on with this guy?
Look, I think Jordan Binnington, comedic purposes wise, he's hilarious, right? Like he takes his mask off after he gets pulled, starts talking to the Pittsburgh bench.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. But I can see where it's running thin on a guy like Craig Berube, who's a very old school style coach who wants to, maintain structure, just do your job. Don't add extra fuel to the fire. And you're seeing that. We talked about Matt Murray a couple weeks, remember, knocking that was a nuisance. Jordan Binnington's basically being a menace to society right now for the St. Louis Blues. Yes. And you've seen it. Before we went on, we saw a fight from him in the AHL. Like, it's just who he is. And I think it has to do with his upbringing to the NHL. He had a massive chip on his shoulder, and he still has. It's kind of like if you relate it to a football experience, like a football player, kind of like Baker.
He thinks he's a football player.
He plays like a football player too.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Baker Mayfield, where although Baker Mayfield was like a first overall pick, he has a massive chip on his shoulder. You can never really get rid of it. Jordan Binnington has a Stanley Cup. He's been an elite. I don't know if he's an elite goalie, but he's a very good, serviceable number one, right? But he has that massive chip on his shoulder. He always, wants to prove, has that bravado and stuff like that. Eventually, he's gonna have to tone it down because sometimes, especially in team sports like this, you can't keep on starting fires and then your team has to put it out, right? So I think Jordan Binnington really needs to tone it down because the Blues aren't playing very well, and this is just more negative news for a team that has much higher expectations. I know I had them, potentially a Stanley Cup dark horse team because I think they're a very good, well-run organization, and part of the reason because he's a good goalie, right? But this is just negative news, and he needs to, stop.
Yeah. I feel like if he doesn't stop too, the NHL is just going to send the team a hefty fine.
Oh, they'll probably just suspend him.
They're going to have to do something because these tactics can't keep going on. Like, this is just...
I mean, if he wants to keep it up, though, I don't mind because it's must-see TV.
It's like, it's pure entertainment.
Pure entertainment.
That's what it is. It's pure entertainment. But like you were saying, St. Louis isn't doing that great this year. So they really need to stop this. Binnington, stop this. You're like a whiny baby. Like you lose and you freak out. Like, stop. Like, what is this?
I've never seen you so like passionate about this.
It's just it's so dumb. Like, I just find it really dumb. Like, I'm all for hockey fights. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I like that. We all like hockey fights.
We all like that's what makes hockey
this is
hockey.
just like you're a menace. Like, just an annoying. Like, you just want to like kick it to the curb. Like,
remember in the playoffs last year, threw the water bottle at Kadri too, right?
Yeah,
like it's a theme with him, right?
Theme.
And I think
it's getting old.
When you look at all those guys, all those players, even goalies, players that have been pests before, like I meant like Sean Avery or like all these guys that are just still super pests. Eventually they run their course on where they play because everybody gets sick and tired of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And if Jordan Binnington doesn't change his attitude, he might be playing himself out of St. Louis.
Yep. Well, like we were saying, St. Louis, they're 11-13, 22 points, 12th in the Western Conference. They lost their last 5 of 6 games. So Binnington, stop this and just tend the fucking goal. Excuse my language, just tend the goal, please. Anyways, I'm your host, Celine Chmerky, along with my co-host, Justin Pooty. Thank you so much for listening to the Homestand TV.